And with the emergence of Afam Osigwe as the new NBA president, the incoming executives will have to address issues of corruption in the judiciary, legal education, integrity of the bar, input of the bar to the economy of the nation, amongst others. Joining me now again to look at these challenges, as was said, we'll still have Dr. Sam Amadi, who himself is an associate professor and PhD in law, a rights analyst. Thank you very much for staying back with us.
Thank you.
The NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, as we knew some 30, 40 years ago during the times of Alawa Akabashorun, Agbakoba too, were very fiery, you understand?
Bola
Ajibola, yes, who became justice of the ICC. They were very fiery, they spoke truth to power. They told leadership that, look, you're derailing and the rest. What kind of NBA are we having now? Is there going to be a change, to the old order where the Nigerian Bar Association is at the forefront of socio-political and economic issues?
I think over the years, unarguably, the NBA has lost prestige and some would say relevance. It's still relevant, strong. I mean, if you're a section of lawyers anywhere in the world, even in the Banana Republic, you're a strong group because lawyers are central to a lot of things in society. But again, like you said, during the previous era, one thing that was clear was under the military mostly, there was a clarity around what the bar stood for. They stood for the freedom of the people. They stood for democratic freedom, even the military rule. They stood for the rule of law. That affected the Supreme Court itself. I mean, that era, so the Supreme Court, the bench were very clear, mostly entering judgment against the state. In fact, therein, I was a young lawyer with Chief Gane Fayemi and Little Sabakoba, and we were doing cases that challenged decrees, and judges, Obaseke, Esho, Uputa, even Uwez, back up to Bello, these judges
stood
out in entering judgment against even nullifying decrees. Again, in terms of integrity, the bar also was very clear, aligned very strongly with the democratic movement, UAD, AD, and all that. All the struggles, they were Kokori, the labor. So you saw a synergy between NBA leading the Labour Congress, whether at the level of NLC or splitter groups like Pengasin, Peng. There you saw the civil rights organization, the student movement. So that was a strong movement for democracy.
What happened now?
Once democracy, we got democracy, quote unquote. I think that's a status quo. The institution, the NBA became a status quo institution, a government institution. In fact, in previous elections, state governors have financed candidates who emerge. Even this election, towards the end of the election day, there were rumors around the presidency. Of course, the Attorney General issued a statement debunking it, that the presidency kind of provided support for somebody. So we are now seeing routinized, bureaucratized, and governmentalized NBA. That's one. Two, corruption. Look at the quality of the recent report. We used to think police would go rate higher than the judiciary in corruption. Custom, all the usual suspects. Today, the latest report by MBS itself and UNDOC, the judiciary highest per capita in terms of, we're number one. Corruption. The biggest. So that corruption now, and this fact of collapse of rule of law and perception index, Afrobarometer, about 77% of Nigerians have no confidence in the judicial system. It means that the new executive have to retool and rethink how they do MBA. Look, MBA, I always speak at the MBA. I was a founding member of the SPIDEL. When Olusabakoba was there, Olusabakoba set up the SPIDEL, the section on public interest and environmental law. Olusa did it. Olusa commissioned a study on the institutional law and economics, the institutional framework for economic growth. I did a paper for MBA. Since then, MBA has produced nothing, in my view, substantive enough for government to drive development. And so there's now need for MBA to move away from this ceremonial senior advocate, they just concave. MBA conferences don't come out with something that you could say this is rigorous scholarship that implemented. You can't be talking about the economy today without, in developed countries or other countries in the world, the legal profession should provide law and economics experts who support the growth of the economy. So Afam is experienced, I've been secretary. He ran and could have won in the last one. He was popular with young lawyers. In fact, he presaged the Labour candidate who later emerged as a choice of the young lawyer. So he has a lot of credibility. Followership. But the problem is that he has been involved in a lot of bureaucratic aspect of this work. Can he reinvent the legal profession?
The MBA of 30, 40 years
Yes,
ago.
to go back to say, look, why should MBA be involved in too many? The courts are like, there's no distinction between the judiciary and the executive. You see, when they do commencement here, the Chief Justice and the FCT Minister will be having dinner. The Chief Justice feels he is part of the undertakers of the statecraft. That's not their job. The relationship between the judiciary in our democracies and the executive are distanced. They only come occasionally, ceremonially, and pull away. But today, any judge that appoint as elevate to the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court, the state governor holds a state banquet. It happened in Imo State with Justice Iheme, and it's scandalous. Because you see, so the first job is to clean this image of corruption. I mean, it's no longer a perception. It's now a reality that we
If
are
I put
more
it
corrupt.
side by side,
Yeah.
for you to dissect the bar or the bench, which, would you say is more corrupt?
The bar corrupts the bench, and the bench corrupts the bar. Look, many senior advocates, and this is not hearsay, if you look at evidence from the NJC reports, suspensions, those not suspended, they thrive in that old boys school, bribing. And the whistleblower, there's a case of a attorney general of a son who went to IBA, and said that there was corruption, instance of corruption in IBA judiciary. And now he's facing MBA recommended him under the current for investigation to strip him of his privilege. Why? That he went to a foreign international forum and talked about corruption in the bar. We remember in the days when Gani Fawemi was there, he had cases with NBA 1 and 2, the Supreme Court, and the issue was around due process. So there's a sense in which the NBA presidency now delights in shutting down conversation and blackmailing those who speak against the judiciary. That's not how it's supposed to be. The NBA is not the judiciary.
So it has turned to a conclave, using your words.
Absolutely. The NBA is not the judiciary. The NBA should be a gadfly, a catalyzer of this perfection. Now look at legal education, and I want Afam to take it seriously. I've argued, I always speak at MBA, I was in the Eastern Bar, and I was keynote speaker. I've argued that the form of legal education in Nigeria today plagues the profession with mediocrity. We need to retool. The law school is, in my view, useless. You have to...
Useless?
Yes, because what I go to law, is law school a master's degree program? This is a professional thing. It's neither too technical nor academic. People go through law school after first degree and spend 1 year cramming things and do exam first class, second class. But it's not a postgraduate. It's not designed as it's a professional school. So look at the way we do in the UK or US. You finish your normal university education, just like accountants. Okay, you apply to be chartered. Is that not correct? You go to schools, different training centers, learning centers, where you learn, qualify, and do the exam. It's not a first class, second class. It's a professional exam. So I have argued that we should change, this is the work now, they should be strong and rethink the legal scholarship in the 21st century. And say, not everybody who went to university should want to be a lawyer. I mean, if you look at the US, most of the CNN analysts, commentators, even the director of communication in the White House, studied the Yale. Someone like Tucker Carlson, O'Reilly, these guys studied law degree in top university, but they're not practicing lawyers. So don't have this notion that going to university to study law means that you are going to, that's why lawyers who didn't go to law school are not employed because they don't know what they are. So we should go back and rethink the legal profession. It's a professional technical course, and you learn it more in chambers and through professional engagement, not through a university like 1 year. I made this point and they started blackmailing me that, oh, I'm enemy of the system. So I think that Afam now should put in people who can think and say, how do we take this, make the law profession, judges will improve their competencies? Because if you train judges...
Nigerian judges, maybe apart from Lagos, still writing longhand.
Well,
is it deliberate on their own part not to want to be retrained, retooled,
maybe,
you know?
We have the machines. I know that Federal High Court of Appeal, they have these things, but the culture, they have to transition it. But again, you see, if you train our judges from the universities we have today and the legal education, look, no, it's not their fault. No rocket science. You're going to have great judges come out of that system. You need to clean the legal scholarship. You read a judgment of a court of appeal in the US or Supreme Court in the US and read our own. This is not gainsaying. You see deep understanding about political economy, constitutional law in a deep sense. Issues, you may not agree with their outcome, you may not agree with their decision, but you will respect the process of reason. So I am saying that MBA can lead in this, and it can't get this result, this excellence, this integrity, until you revise the fundamental. It's wrong. So Afam now being an old horse, and now getting a new mandate. This is now time for him to do the kind of thing that Osigwe did with innovation. And again, finally, I think they should think around economic development is the main challenge of this country now. So MBA should have actually a law and economics group or forum where lawyers also help. Lawyers draft laws about economic development without knowledge of the principles of economic development. So how can those laws work? We need to get back and say, if lawyers are going to be the people drafting laws for economy, then they should have opportunity to understand the principles and the workings of the economy. And that's why the US have lawyers who had PhD in economics, go to do JD. So when you see these lawyers who are writing, they didn't just go and study contract. They had first degree in political science, first degree in economics, so they are now equipped.
They're all rounders.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much, Associate Professor of Law, Dr. Sam Amadi, for coming on News.